What's good? This is Trey. Welcome to this presentation. Today I want to talk about how you can make the shift from toxic masculinity to authentic, healthy masculinity. All right? And this is my interpretation of toxic masculinity because I know there's different views on what that means, but here's what I mean. Okay, when I went through my journey of life of finding and unleashing my masculinity, because when I was in high school, I did not feel like a masculine man at all. I was very passive. I was actually very shy. I would try to act tough and cool, but on the inside, I was a broken kid, right? A broken boy. Now, when I got out of high school, I decided that I wanted to become confident. I wanted to become more of a man. Okay, at the time, I wasn't using the term masculine, but I wanted to become more confident, more manly, right? So what I did was I started going out and approaching women, okay? Because that was the area that was making me feel like I wasn't a man, okay? Like I played sports, I did all these things that were manly, but then when it came to women, I just felt weak. I felt passive. I felt like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Everything I said and did seemed to come out in a weird way. And a lot of times I was just too shy to even say or do anything most of the time, and it's because my masculinity was somehow shamed and dismissed and pushed away, and basically I just locked it up within me. Okay, and I realize now that it came from some past trauma, from my childhood. Okay, so I'm not, it is what it is, right? But I wanted to overcome it. I wanted to do something about it. So I used the, code approach, going out approaching women to help me with that. And basically it did help me unleash my masculinity, because I started to see that in order to get results with women, you have to become more assertive. You have to become more proactive. Like, you basically have to go and get what you want. It's not just going to fall in your lap. So I learned to start unleashing my masculinity. Now what happened is I didn't have someone to show me how to unleash my masculinity, but in a healthy way. I just started becoming more aggressive, more I want what I want, and I was trying to push people out of the way to get what I want, and I was, just kind of like trying to force my way to success, and over time I started to realize that there's a better way of going about things. There's a better way of going about things. There's a more healthier way of expressing your masculinity, a more authentic way of expressing your masculinity, okay? So for me, it came down to me really understanding the concept of self-love, really loving myself, because it's like I found my masculinity was starting to come out, but I still had like hate for things that happened in my past, people that I dealt with in my past. I didn't forgive anyone. I kind of had like negative views on women, like, women should do what the man wants and just submit and bow down and stuff like that. I started to think like that because of all the shit that I've been through in the past. But then what happens is when you have that toxic vibe, you attract toxicity, right? You attract, like I would attract toxic women because I was being a toxic man. Okay, and I started to peep that. I started to realize that. And then the women that I actually wanted, I would repel them. I didn't know why, but it's because they were picking up on that toxic energy, that toxic vibe. So what happened is I started to notice a pattern, like, okay, I'm attracting certain results, I'm having certain experiences in life, and I know it has to do with me because I was studying self-improvement and studying, the laws of the universe and stuff, and then the mind, and I came to this understanding that, what you put out comes back to you. So I started to go through a path of basically self-love, of learning to love myself, learning to forgive those that have done me wrong, learning to forgive myself, learning to respect myself, learning to carry myself with high esteem, learning to believe that I'm worthy and deserving of these great things in life, and also learning how to love others, but at first it started with me learning how to love myself, learning how to treat myself right, give myself a chance, go for the things I really want, learning how to express myself and believing that what I have to say actually matters, you know? So it started there. And then once I started to really love myself, then what I noticed is I started to like naturally want to give love, right? Like I stopped being so selfish and making it about me because I started to become whole. I started to feel like, oh, I'm good. So then I just started putting out that energy of love to others. And to me, it means you just start giving. You start wanting to make people's day. You start wanting to share positive energy. You start wanting to make a difference and benefit others and contribute to others' lives. And then over time, what started to happen is I just started to create like a life of love where I was feeling love. My life was based around love. You know, I was attracting loving relationships. And these are authentic relationships. These are genuine relationships. These are relationships that where we actually care about each other, where we're actually honest with each other, right? And I saw that the more toxic relationships or the not so authentic, not so healthy relationships, they started to peel off. They started to drop off. Like even me, some of them I didn't even really have to cut off manually. Like it just kind of happened because our energies no longer matched. Our frequency, we were no longer on the same frequency, right? So it kind of just naturally ended, right? So that is basically how I made that shift. It's like, okay, I think it for some of us guys, it is necessary to go through a period where you're kind of like toxic in your masculinity because you don't even realize it, right? It's not like you want to be toxic, but you kind of are. And then you start to realize that that your life is being affected by that, right? You're creating a toxic life because of your being toxic with your expression of masculinity. Once you start to see those patterns, you say, okay, I need to change something. So I started to look inside and ask myself, what do I need to change? I needed to love myself. I needed to respect myself. I needed to forgive myself. I needed to start putting myself first. I need to stop following what other people want me to do, listening to what other people are telling me, holding on to the past, holding on to these old limiting beliefs. I started to break free of all of that and allow myself to evolve and transform into this more authentic, healthy expression of masculinity. See? So that's kind of, for me to like summarize how I made that transition. If you're someone who wants like a specific process on how to become more of an authentic, grounded, masculine man, how to actually tap into these various archetypes of masculinity, you have these various archetypes of masculinity that each man can tap into. We're actually very dynamic. We're not static. And that's why masculinity can be seen as toxic, because they think it's a static thing. They think it just means being aggressive and being tough and it's not just that, right? Masculinity can show up in different ways. It can show up as like a kingly energy where you become a masculine man of honor, of justice, of integrity, right? Of truth, of leadership, of selflessness. Like you become a king who's trying to help, those around him, help his community, help those around him, right? You also have this expression of the warrior, this is the version of you that shows up when, you need to go to war, when there's a problem, when there's a threat in the environment, you show up and you be a man and you protect those who you love, or you show up with that aggressive energy towards your goals, right? It's not necessarily need to be violent. It could just be energy that you're putting towards creating something, right? You have an intent and then you're going and executing and moving forward on that, right? So that's the warrior, or like what I like to call the beast that shows up, right? Then you have the magician, is where you become more intelligent in your movement throughout life. You not so emotional and you become more logical and analytical. There's a time and place for that too. You need that part of you is important too, because if you're just emotional and just doing shit, that turns into chaos. You do need to have order. Okay? And then you have the lover. The lover is similar to what I was talking about, falling in love with yourself and falling in love with life, and then falling in love with love itself, like loving others and just expressing love. And then you just become a man of love, And whereas before maybe you would have been a man of pride, or a man of trying to one up everybody or whatever it is, you know what I mean? You just become connected to everyone, right? You start to see the unity in things instead of division, So I basically help you to tap into these 4 masculine archetypes, and I help you to bring them together and ground them. Okay. So if you're interested in something like that, I have a program for you that's designed to help you become grounded in your masculinity and channel that energy into wealth creation, power cultivation, and attracting quality relationships. All right. So if that's something you're interested in, just private message me. Tell me, hey, Trey, I'm interested in your masculine throne initiation program, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I'll give you some details, and then we'll go from there. All right. See you in the next videos. Peace.